What is up, G's and gents? It has been a while since I posted anything. It kind of just got to the point where I'm just like, why the fuck am I doing this? But you can always ask yourself when things get difficult, why am I doing this? What is the point? That question usually leads to giving up. And so that's what I did for a little bit. I'm just like, man, making these videos are pointless. What is the point? The point of doing anything difficult, time consuming, effort intensive is because it makes you better. Your work works on you more than you work on it. Me making these videos makes me speak better, think better, relate better. You have to. If you want better results, you have to be better and do better. So I'm back, ladies and gentlemen. Wonderful seeing you here. Thanks for joining me. So yeah, burnout. Are you familiar with it? I mean, it's just a fancy phrase. I mean, it's not that fancy, but it's a phrase for being tired, unmotivated, unfocused, exhausted, feeling as though you aren't making any progress, that there's no purpose behind what you're doing. You can burn out with work, with a hobby, with a relationship, with anything that you're not seeing immediate results. But that is the thing. If you want the secret to burnout, if you want a way to feel motivated again, to feel like you have your purpose back, realize that the work you're doing is more about what it does to you, how it changes you, than how it changes your external reality, meaning like the shit you see around you, life, right? We do these things, we expect results. We get results, but if we don't see them in our reality, we assume that they're not there, when in reality, our results are coming from who we are becoming through the process of working. Which is interesting. Because I know from past experience, I've put the work in. You've done work, right? You put effort into something and you don't see an immediate result. What usually happens? You give up. You say, fuck this. I quit. I've done that before. Imagine other people have done that before. And why? Why do we quit? Why do we give up? Because we felt like we're burning out. Like we're just tired of putting in the work. We're tired of investing time and energy into something and not seeing a return. Which, that's reasonable to think. It's like, why take your money and invest it in something that continues to take your money and not give you anything? You're going to say, fuck this. I am no longer doing this. It makes sense. You can rationalize it, saying, look, nothing has changed. My life is still the same. Why am I still doing this? And you'd be right. 99% right. 100% wrong. Because the thing that changes is you. You get a little better. You get a little stronger. Get a little tougher. You increase your abilities to perform. Like, if you want, not even a shameless plug, like, I shouldn't even be talking about it, but yo, if you want to see my first video, like, look at my first short ever. It's fucking ugly. It's really ugly. Looks like shit. I look like shit. The content's just shit. It's not good. And most people stop at that ugly, shitty phase. Like, oh, I'm not immediately good at something. I'm putting all this time and energy into something and I'm not seeing immediate results. Fuck this, I quit. I thought about doing that as well. I was just like, why am I making these? What is the point of doing this? What is the point? Why? The simple answer, anytime you're just like, why? What's the point? Why not? You are the point. You are the reason you do something to make you better, to make you more capable. Do 100 of something. If you think you're shit at making videos, make 100 of them. The first one's going to be really bad. But that 100th one, if you compare the two, like, holy shit. Look how much I've grown. And that's the key to progress. That's the key to not burning out and exhausting yourself. It's realizing that your work is working on you more than you are working on it. Little Alex Hormozyism right there. But yeah, the work that you do works on you more than you work on it. So if you don't like making videos, but you do it anyway, by that 10th video even, right? You've made, the first video sucked, you hated it. By the 10th video, I bet you speak better. Bet you have better rhythm. Bet you articulate your thoughts and express yourself better than you did. I bet things improved. Right? But so many people stop at the shit phase where they're just like, I'm shit at this. I'm done. I quit. So easy. Just take baby steps. Everyone was shit at walking when they first tried to walk. Everybody was shit at riding a bike when they first tried to ride a bike. You fall down. A lot of people fall down and just stay down. Like, oh, this is just my life. This is just what I deserve. I'm just a loser, so I lose. It's like, you're losing because you don't have the proper ability yet. You don't have the proper thought processes, the mental framework to even know what is good and what works. But the great thing about being a human being is we are adaptation machines. We are capable of adapting. We are capable of changing and doing better. Thank God for that, right? Thank life for that. So it's like, if you're shit at something, keep doing it and you get better at it. My dog wants to go out. I'll be back in 2 seconds. Don't count it. Yeah, I'm just fucking up the video. Yes, you are. Yeah. And the fucking door shut. Don't worry, I'm still here. Un momento, por favor. Yeah, it's really easy to give up in the beginning. The hardest part is starting something because you don't know what you don't know. You don't have the experience. You don't have the abilities. You don't have the confidence in your competence. It's hard to start. That's the hardest part. But then you get to the second hardest part, which is continuing to do the thing even though you are not good at doing the thing. That's almost harder than starting. Almost. But once you start at something, whether it's a hobby, a sport, a relationship, perhaps you're starting a business. Yo, if you want to improve rapidly, start a business of some kind. Because you're going to be brutally reminded of your inadequacies and what you lack. Start a business. Start offering a service to somebody. You're going to start seeing yourself in a new light. You're going to start seeing things that you need to do that needs to be improved. If you want a business to succeed, you have to succeed. If you want a better business, you have to become better. Have to change, have to adapt. Have to see results. Most people start a business and give up on that business within a year. Within less than a year, somebody starts with the, you've been there, right? You're like, I don't own a business. It doesn't fucking matter. Whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you own a business, whether you're just a worker, whether you've never worked a day in your life. You've done something, you've started something, and it turned out to be more difficult than you initially thought it would be. You get to that oh fuck moment where you realize that all that motivation you had, you're just so inspired to just start this new thing, to try this new thing, right? You're like, oh my God, this is going to be so amazing. And then you start doing it, or you start trying to do it, and you realize this is more difficult than I thought. There are more pieces to this puzzle than I once thought. And then you get to the point where you're like, oh shit, like, I've put in all this work, and yet there's still so much work that needs to be done. Those moments, those oh shit moments, whether you've been working on a relationship, whether you've been working on a business, whether you've been working on a project, whether you've been putting work into anything, there comes a time where you stumble across that moment and you realize that all the work you've been putting in got you to this point, but you are nowhere near the finish line. You are nowhere near the end. There's so much work that needs to be done. It's like you want to climb this mountain and you get to the top, what you believe to be the top, right? It's like, I did it. It wasn't as hard as I thought. And then you realize that that was just a little hill leading up to the mountain. And then you look up and you see this thing is monstrous. So much bigger than you thought it was. You realize your journey is going to be so much more difficult than you initially thought it was going to be. The valley of despair, right? When you're up on top, you don't know shit about what you're about to do, but you're just like, this, I got this. I believe in this. I'm motivated to do this, right? You're optimistic because you don't know shit about it. And then you start putting in that work, That optimism goes out the window when you start realizing how much work is actually required, right? Started up here. Now you're sitting here. You're like, shit. There's so much work that needs to be done. But you believe in yourself, right? You're just like, I'm going to keep going. I believe in myself. So you just keep going and go. But you're going down, homie. You expect to be going up. You're like, I'm putting in the work. I'm putting in the energy. I got this. And then you just keep going down. You just keep going down because you realize the more fucking work you put in, the more experience you gain, the more perspective. I don't fucking like that. As you can see, I don't do any edits. Fuck that shit. But what is it? Your perception of what it means to work has changed. Your perception of the hill, the mountain that you were going to climb, the task you were going to do, the project you're working on, the business you're working on, there is way more fucking pieces to it than you initially thought. So you started up here. You're like, this is awesome. Put in all that work. You just keep going down lower and lower. You're like, fuck. But I'm going to keep going. I'm not going to give up. And then you eventually hit the valley of despair, where you've put in a lot of work, you've put in a lot of time, you've put in a lot of energy, you have learned a shit ton, you have seen results, but it is nothing close to the goal you have in mind. And so you're just sitting on in the valley. You hit rock bottom, right? You're like, holy fuck. I've put in so much work. I've put in so much time and energy into this. And it's just the beginning. You thought you climbed the mountain, but you've only climbed the hill that leads to the huge fucking mountain. So many people quit right here. The valley of despair. Once they hit rock bottom, they're like, nope. I'm moving on to something else. I'm moving on to a new person, right? Relationship. I'm moving on to a new job, right? Because it's like, this is just too difficult. I'm starting over. I'm starting a new business. And you know what happens? Move backwards. And you move back up to the fucking top where you're like, oh, this is uninformed optimism. I don't know shit about this. I think I do. The shiny object syndrome, right? You're like, oh, this is gonna work now. This is the person I need to be with. This is my dream job. This is the business that I've always needed to start. And you start putting in time and energy, time and energy, time and energy, time and you're like, holy fuck. There's more to this than I thought there was. I thought I climbed the mountain, but it's really just the hill leading up to the mountain. So you just keep working, putting in time and energy. Boom, rock fucking bottom again. Welcome back. Welcome back to the valley of despair. This is where burnout happens. This is where people quit. This is where people give up. And they just start this fucking cycle over again. Just moving backwards and forwards. Like, you think you've burnt out when you've hit the valley of despair, right? You're like, I give up. But imagine just doing this for like 10 years, back and forth. You start something new, you think it's amazing. Start putting in work, you realize, oh my God, there's so much more work. There's so much more shit that needs to be done than I thought initially. Rock bottom, valley of despair. Oh, let's just move back to the top. Oh, here's a new opportunity. Yeah, I got to forget about this one. This was burning me out. This was just too difficult. Let's start the... It's like, my arm was getting tired there, I know. Fucking worked out too much yesterday. Being a pussy, I realize. We're back. But yo, so many people just valley of despair, give up, back at the top, starting something new. Valley of despair again, start something new. It's like you're just fucking exhausting yourself. You're not getting the goal that you want. You're not living the life that you want. And it's stressing you out. It's wearing you out. And you're not getting shit done. You're building the give up muscle. We're building the muscle either way. You either have the stick to it muscle where I'm going to keep going, or the, oh shit, this is more difficult than I thought, I'm going to give up muscle. And so many of us flex our give up, I'm going to quit muscle. So many of us are working that shit out hardcore all year long. And then it just becomes automatic. Anytime anything gets difficult, quit. That relationship just got difficult, moving on to a new one. Oh, that job, it's just too much. It's too stressful. There's too much work. Let's get a new job. Oh, that business is burning you out. Oh, that business isn't what you thought it was. Oh, that business is difficult. Let me give up on that business. Let me start a new one. That'll make everything better. And you're just fucking leapfrogging. You're just like a frog, just jumping from lily pad to lily pad to lily pad to lily. What are you doing? Which, granted, going back to my initial point, you are getting better. You are getting stronger, but you're also losing the confidence in yourself by constantly quitting and restarting. Because there's always going to be that moment, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business, whether it's a project, whether you're in school and you're having a difficult fucking class, there's always going to be that moment where you hit the wall, where you hit fucking rock bottom, when you've been putting in enough time and energy to realize you have to put in way more time and energy. That rock bottom moment. And then typically, people give up. Like, oh yeah, no. Let me drop this class. Let me do a different class. This is too difficult. Let me leave this person. They're too difficult. Let me leave this job. It's too difficult. let me start a new business because the last one was too difficult. And then you just get into this cycle. Starting, quitting, starting, quitting, starting, quitting. And years go by. And how terrifying is that? You're putting all this time and energy into things, and they're not getting you anywhere. And time just keeps on ticking by. It's a really easy way to get burnt out with life. And that's a dangerous path, getting burnt out with life. That will then make you gravitate towards spending a bunch of money, drugs, alcohol, sex, depression, you name it. If you get burnt out with life, it's going to take you into a very interesting direction. I've been there. Take my word for it. Getting burnt out with life, that's you're afraid to hit rock bottom, get burnt out with life. The bottom's gonna hit you. But why the fuck have I been just yapping about this entire time? The valley of despair, hitting the wall of fucking rock bottom. It's because once you hit that valley of despair, when you realize that all the time and energy that you put in isn't enough, and you still have so much more work that needs to be done, in that moment, right before you quit, just look back at the person you were before you started. Think back to who you were before you began that relationship, that project, that course, that business. Think back. Visualize yourself. Have you improved since then? Are you better? Just consider that. Even though you have not seen the results in the external reality, even though you are looking around and your life seems to not have changed much since you started on this path, or whatever it is, whether it's school, business, relationship, whatever the fuck, think back to the person you were when you initially started. Bet you weren't as confident. Bet you weren't as knowledgeable. Bet you weren't as experienced. Bet you weren't as capable. Seriously. If you're thinking about quitting something, if you're thinking about giving up on something, before you do, think back to who you were. Think back to where it all started. I bet you've gotten better since then. The results you're looking for in your life, you should look inside you. You should look inside your mind. You should look at the person you have became. Look at the person you've became through all those hours, putting in all that work. Your work works on you more than you work on it. The shit you do improves you before it improves your life. You have to get better to have a better life. So if you're in that rock bottom moment, if you're in that valley of despair where you're just burnt out and you're just ready to give up, realize the results that you're looking for is you. The outcome of your work that you've been working towards is you. You may not have reached your goal yet. So, I bet you've gotten better. I bet you've improved a great deal. So isn't that worth it? Wasn't that worth all the time and the effort and the energy that you put into it? The person that you're becoming? Something to consider before you quit. Because then what? Once you quit something, you're more likely to quit again. So you're just going to start over. Why? That's a lot of wasted time, effort, and energy just to start over. A few months ago, I stumbled across some ads for school.com talking about build a community, get paid, helping people. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That sounds very interesting. I just quit my job because I hated it, right? Which I know it's like, bro, you're in the valley of despair. Just keep pushing. It's like, yeah, I could have. But if you don't like the person that you're becoming by the work that you're doing, that's not the right direction for you. There is an exception to every rule. So if you're like, well, I'm in the valley of despair, I got to keep pushing. It's like, yes, you can. But you have to ask yourself, is this work making me better or is this work making me worse? Do I like the person that I'm becoming? Do I like the people that I'm surrounded by? Do I like the work that I'm doing? If the answer is no to all that, probably not the best place to be. You only have so much time in this life. Why waste it doing something that isn't making you better? And that's the way I felt. Went to school, got a job after college, as you're supposed to. And I fucking hated it. Such an awful fucking job. It was so easy. I could do it. That wasn't the hard part. The hard part was the fact that it wasn't challenging. Didn't make you better. Didn't make you learn anything new. So eventually I left that shit. Said, no, I'm not doing this anymore. So yeah, brings me to school.com where you build a community, which is just a place for people to go to get value from you, to learn from you, to exchange ideas, to get better in life. But yeah, if you're watching this and you haven't, like, you don't know what school is, you're like, what the fuck is that? They got an app. They also, you can just type that shit in school.com. Boom. You can join a bunch of free communities. Some are paid. If you want to start your own community, it costs money. But getting back to the initial point, I was like, fuck yeah, school.com. Up top here, right? Uninformed optimism. I'm like, man, I can talk to people. I'm semi-intelligent. I can totally provide some service and value and get paid for it. Yes, I'm starting a business. I got this. Working time. Holy shit. I've put in a lot of effort, put in a lot of time. Didn't get anywhere though. Right? The more work you put in, the more work you realize needs to be done. Going all the way down to, boom, crash landed, valley of despair. To where, oh shit, allergies, man. Un momento, por favor. All this pollen in the air and shit. All beat up from playing ball yesterday. Allergies acting up. Pretty sure I got the flu. Still out here making content, showing up. So, you can always find an excuse for things, but show up regardless. Rarely does anyone play on 100%. Show the fuck up. But yo, eventually hit the valley of despair where it's like, yo, I've put in a decent amount of time and effort. Learned some things, done some things, met some cool people. But it just comes that moment where you realize that all the work you have done has just led up to this moment where, surprise, More work needs to be done. Definitely thought about giving up. I was going through a transitional phase in my life to where I believed that I could mitigate stress with a little bit of alcohol here, a little bit of smoking here. But yeah, it's just a little bit. I'm still doing the work. I'm still showing up. I'm still working on the business. And then started drinking a little more. Started smoking a little more. I'm like, oh, but I'm still showing up. I'm still here. I'm still putting in the hours. But that shit was fucking up my progress. That shit was fucking up who I was becoming. I hit that valley of despair and I turned back to old stress relievers, things that I've done in the past that I thought, hey, I'm stronger now. I've grown since then. What's a little liquor here? What's a little smoking here? And then that compounds. And over time, you start doing more and more and more until you get to the point where you no longer want to show up because you're not actually relieving your stress. It's just like a little Band-Aid. When you drink or smoke, it's not actually solving the problems at hand. I was like, that's fine. I'm just going to keep working. I'm going to work through it. Got to the point where it's like, no, this is not working. No, I'm not showing up anymore. It would be to where I'll go a whole day where it's just like, yo, fuck this. I'm not doing this. Let me focus on some sort of distraction, some sort of escape, instead of finding the solutions to the problems that I'm currently facing. It's like, nah, man, I'll get around to it. I'm still working because I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about my business. I'm thinking about the service that I can provide. I'm still focused on. You can spend so much time in your head thinking about something and never doing anything. And it just got to the point where I'm just spinning my wheels, thinking about it, not doing shit about it. Until you get to that point where you're just like, should I give up? Should I just quit? It's so difficult. Yo, try to start a business and build a community at the same time with little following. It's really fun. You should try it. Let me know how it goes. Drop it in the comments below. You ever started a community? Do you even know what Skool is? I'm not even going to plug my community. I believe there's a fucking link somewhere to my profile. But yo, Skool is free for those that do not own a community. So, if you want to be around other people who have similar interests as you, who can add to your network so that whatever you're doing, whether it's a hobby, whether it's some sort of craft, whether it's a career, whether you're starting a business, you're an entrepreneur, get on Skool.com. It's like Facebook, LinkedIn, all rolled into one. It's just fucking dope. I'm not even plugging my shit. Just like go there and just join communities and have people who actually want to see you win. There's actually people online, on Skool, that will help you win, that won't fucking charge you anything. That's crazy. That people will actually give you value without asking you to pay money. Granted, there's a lot of people on there who will also just be like, yeah, man, I can help you out. You got some money to invest? I'm not going to sell you anything, but I'm going to ask, do you have money to invest in yourself? And you just feel like an asshole when you're like, no, not right now. I don't have money to invest in myself. But yeah, there's always people like that. If you get a room full of people together, there's going to be a lot of good people, and there's going to be some bad people. There's going to be some okay people. But yo, School.com is fucking awesome. I'm not getting paid to promote it. I've just been on School for months now, and it's fucking crazy. It's an awesome place. Is it exhausting? Is it overwhelming? Yes, but in the best way possible. So, building a business, building a community, and it's difficult. Eventually, you're going to put in enough work, and you're like, well, I'm not on School. I'm not building a business. Why should I care? It's like, this thought process can be used for anything. If you are doing anything worthwhile, it will be difficult eventually. If it's not hard in the beginning, it will definitely get to a point where you are challenged and you are forced to get better, to improve, to change. So realize in anything, relationships, jobs, school, sports, business, you start off and you're just super excited. And eventually, if you put in enough time, effort, and energy, you will end up in the valley of despair. And that's the valley of despair because you realize that, hey, this mountain that I thought I was climbing, once I got to the top of it, I realized it was just a hill that led to the mountain. You're going to have that point where you put in enough work and enough time to have the experience to see what you're actually doing, where you're actually going. And you realize that you have to put in so much more time and energy. You could give up, or you could keep going. I recommend you keep going, because once you give up on something, you start building that muscle, that quit muscle. Fucking dog. But once you give up, you make it that much easier to give up again. And then you just start a habit of giving up every time something gets difficult. Which I don't recommend, because you can waste a lot of time and energy doing that. And at the end of the day, the only two things that are ours in this life are our time and our energy. Why waste it? But here's the call to action, you lovely mother lovers. If you're putting in the work on something and you hit the valley of despair and you're thinking about giving up, talk about it in the comments. Like, drop a comment below. Talk about that shit. We can have a conversation. I know what you could be thinking is, I don't want strangers on the internet to see my business. Like, who gives a shit about what some strangers think? I mean, I'm not a stranger, right? You know me. You've seen one of my videos. I've built up enough trust to warrant this, yes? But seriously, like, if you feel like you're about to give up, if you feel like you're in that valley of despair, you don't know what to focus on, you don't know what to do, all you want to do is just give up, talk about it. Talk about it in the comments, man. Or woman. Or whoever. If you're going through something, you want assistance with whatever you're going through, drop it in the comments below. Why? Because you might just get some assistance. You might just get some insight. You might just get some accountability. You might just get some encouragement. Who knows? You won't know until you do it. But if you're like, nah, it's not for me, okay. Just realize it's much easier to do something when you have other people supporting you, encouraging you. That dog. Gotta love dogs. But keep going. The valley of despair is there to challenge you, to test you, to see if you're really serious about what it is that you're doing. So are you? Life wants to know. It's like, do you really want this? Let's see. Let's test you. It's up to you whether you want to accept that test, whether you want to face that challenge. You can always give up, but then what?